Okay, so today we're talking annotation tools. In Active Inspire, there's a bunch of different annotation tools. They are the writing tools, the pen, the highlighter, the eraser, and a couple others we'll cover in a little while. When you first open Active Inspire, you'll see this toolbar off to this side over here. And you should have the pen in there. If you touch the pen tool, it should pop up. You'll see a color palette up here. You can touch a color. And then these four dots off to on the top here are like the four most popular sizes. So if I touch one of them there, you can see it's very thin. If I touch the second one, it's a little bit bigger. The next one's a little bit bigger. And the fourth one's just a little bit bigger. Those are the four most popular sizes. If you paid attention to the slider, it moved a tiny bit for each one, but you can move the slider up and you'll see a number below it as it slides, above or below. That's the amount of pixels it's going to use to write. It will come all the way up to 100. So you can write as small or as big as you'd like to write, and whichever colors you'd like to write in. So next to that's the highlighter tool. Highlighter basically is the same thing as a pen tool annotation, but it takes down the transparency a little bit so you can see through the highlighter. And it has all the same options. So you can highlight in a lighter color. If you go over something, you can see through the highlighter. The four different options are a little bit different because highlighting usually highlights a little bit bigger. We can come through and check each one of those. Notice they are a bit bigger as the four different popular sizes. And again, you still have that slider that can slide all the way up and do a bigger. As long as you keep contact either with your pen or your finger on the screen, it will maintain one highlight. If you go over other highlighting, it will darken it. If you accidentally pick up and touch it again, it will overlap those. So try and maintain, if you're highlighting, try and maintain constant contact.
How do you go back and erase something like that?
Cleverly disguised as an eraser is an eraser. It's like a two-color art eraser right there. The eraser, again, has the same four options and a slider. I think I usually just leave mine fairly big and you should be able to erase almost anything. Any annotations with the eraser tool. The eraser tool should be able to work on almost anything. If you're erasing bigger stuff, like the big highlighter, the big annotation, with a small eraser, you'll be working for a long time on it. It will do it, but it doesn't like it. You can see it's changing a little bit as I work a lot. So if you're erasing bigger stuff, it's better to have the bigger erasers to erase bigger stuff. I think that's why I usually leave mine fairly large.
Where was the slider for your eraser size?
It's all in the same place.
It's still that same?
Same slider. As long as the eraser is the tool that is chosen,
I see.
that's what you'll change sizes with.
Thank you.
If the pen tool is chosen, the pen will change size. Same thing with the highlighter. Now, being that you're teachers, and teachers can never have enough color in their life, right? You're probably looking at those 8 colors going, really? 8 colors? That's all you're going to give me? Let me show you how to add more colors to your board, or to your toolbox. Clicking up here on Edit, and down at the bottom on Profiles, we'll pop up the Profile menu. Find where it says Main Toolbox. You can actually do some customization right here. You can decide if you want it on the right, if you want it on the left, if you want it on the top, on the bottom. If you're using a Mac computer, the floating toolbox does not always work 100% well, so I'd stay away from that. But there is a drop-down menu for colors here. 8, 16, or 24.
There's also colors under something called Dual Toolbox.
Dual Toolbox, yeah. we're not going to be using those dual toolbox a whole lot anymore. Back when we had the original boards with the projectors and the pens, there was a dark gray pen, the light gray pen. The light gray pen could have its own toolbox off to the side. That was a student toolbox.
Okay.
Nowadays, if you have one of these boards have like 10 or 12 different touches, and they all use the same color from that. So you're not going to be using that dual toolbox much. If you do happen to have one of those old boards using the two different colored pens, yeah, you could come in here and give the students more choices too. Now you probably know though, that giving students more choices means there's more time of them standing there going, which one do I want, which one do I want, which one do I want? So if you're using the dual toolbox for the students, I'd recommend keeping them at 8 or 16 choices, don't give them the full 24. Usually one of the main questions I get at this point is, well, what if I want to write on something else? Right? You don't want to just write on this all the time, right? You can add stuff to it. There's ways to add text. But this button right here, depending on the version of ActiveInspire you have, may not look like this orange circle with a pen on it. It may look like a blue square with a pen on it, but it should be in the same location. Touching that will show you your desktop. Desktop Annotate, that's what it's called. It's called Desktop Annotate. And again, it could look like this orange circle with a pen on it, or it could look like a blue square with a pen on it. If it's a blue square, it's an older version, and it probably needs to be updated.
If I only want to do simple things though, is my old program, because this computer's old too, it probably isn't going to hold as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would probably be fine for just the basic
Yep.
things. Okay. Just leave it.
Let me come out. Sometimes you'll have to go in and open a browser first. So I opened up a Google browser behind it. I don't have access to some of the online math programs that you all have access to, so we can just pretend. But I opened up this first. I'll put ActiveInspire in front of it, and then touch my Desktop Annotate button. And this will allow me to write on the web page. Yikes, somebody wants to be writing in 100. So I'll slide this down. So we can write on this here, solve problems if we need to. We can erase from here. You can highlight if you have a reading text or something you want to highlight from. You can highlight on that there.
So you have to bring up the document first and then touch your desktop.
That's what some computers like the Dell's might be a little bit different. Mine, I just say, I had to bring that up first and then Desktop Annotate on top of that.
So then you can access any document from where you're at right here. You go to your folders and bring up a document and then touch that annotate button and write on top.
You should
of
be
that
able to.
document.
If you can't find your documents, you may have to come back out of Desktop Annotate, minimize ActiveInspire for a moment, find something here, and then reopen ActiveInspire. And then Desktop Annotate again. If you have a saved document, and you just want to get rid of whatever's here, instead of erasing everything so that another student can come up and try, you can use this kind of paper with a recycle button on it. That's your page reset. It will pretty much get rid of everything that's on the page. A desktop annotate screen is like the old transparencies. It's like a clear sheet on top of stuff. So if you erased everything that's here, it only gets rid of the stuff you put on the desktop annotate screen. Another option is the spray bottle next to that. If you touch the spray bottle, you get a pop-up menu with some other options. clear annotations, clear objects, clear grids. So if you just want to get rid of the annotations, you would hit clear annotations and it would get rid of all the annotations. 2 different ways to clear your screen of student handwriting. I'm going to touch my desktop annotate button one more time and go back to my regular flip charts. Now if you're working with students and you're working through a lecture, every now and then we all kind of have to do some of that, right? And you want to keep these notes up, adding a page with this button right here. We'll add a second page. You can see up here at the top, now we're on page 2 of 2. And you can write on this page for more notes. One of the things that I noticed when I taught 5th grade, you can see it again.
Where's the add page?
It's right up here, right under desktop annotate is these 2 arrows side to side. If you push the one that points to the right, it just adds another page. Unless you're like on the first page, and then it just goes to the second page and then the 3rd page, and when you run out of pages to go to, it just adds a page. Years ago, I taught 5th grade. When I taught 5th grade, one of the things I noticed to help kind of keep students engaged, the pen tool here, the fill tool, will change the background of a page. And then the pen, so as long as you're choosing like a contrasting color to fill and write with, I used to notice the students, anytime I changed to a new page, all the students in my class would start to like, oh, is he gonna go pink? Is he gonna go blue? Is he gonna go brown? What color is he gonna go? What color is he gonna go? And they're freaking out because they wanted to see what I'm gonna write on and write with. It's really quick. Change the page, fill tool, color, touch, pen tool, contrasting color, and write. I mean, it takes just a couple seconds to change that.
And so you could pull up a document, for example, from Snap and Read and have that be the background as well. Okay.
I'm going to move on to a fresh, clean, blank page. Every now and then you might find yourself wanting to draw a perfectly straight line or a perfect circle. And we're not that lady from what is it, Twitter who can do this bit, or TikTok and just draw that perfect circle, right? At least I'm not that lady. So, if we go in here, I'm on a fresh, clean, blank page. Cleverly disguised here as a hammer and a wrench is our tools, because tools are tools, right? So our hammer and wrench is cleverly disguised for our tool menu. Now, if you have an annotation tool selected, your pen tool, your highlighter tool, pen modifiers right in the middle of this menu will be black so you can select it. If you have a different tool selected, it'll be grayed out and you can't use it. So as long as you have your pen or your highlighter selected, you should be able to select pen modifiers. And it will stick over here a few shapes on this side over here that you can draw. If you just want to be able to draw a perfectly straight line, you touch this straight line here, choose your color, and then I could literally like have a stroke and fall down and draw a completely straight line. To turn it off, you want to touch the arrow select tool here, and then back to your regular pen. Now, since you use the pen to draw these, they are erasable with your eraser. So be aware of that. They are annotations. They are erasable with the eraser. But if you have any students who have like motor control issues or something, and they can't draw the straight line, you need them to highlight, you can highlight with pen modifiers also. The last annotation tool I wanted to go over is called Magic Ink. Magic Ink is my favorite. You can do some really cool, fun, exciting things with Magic Ink. It takes a little while to build a Magic Ink activity, so we're going to try and build one together, or at least as close as we can. I am screen recording, and I'll send you the link to this once I get it on YouTube. We've got about 20 minutes, 25 minutes left, so it should be enough time. Magic Ink allows you to be able to see through one object onto another object. I used to use it where I would put a picture on the board, lead students in a discussion of what's happening in the picture as a way to let them discover the vocabulary we were learning for the day. Once one student in the class discovered it, they'd come up here and use Magic Ink to find the vocabulary word. That'll make more sense after I show you what it does. Some people have used Magic Ink to look at skeletons, nervous systems, to do like anatomy stuff, dissections, things like that. Other people have used it for cross sections of the earth, volcanoes, anything like that. So I'm gonna set up one where I'll take a picture of myself, and then we'll be looking at my skull. It's gonna be awesome.
Halloween.
Yes. So, we can do this together. If you'd rather just watch, like I said, I'm on screen recording, hopefully, and I'll get this out to you later. I'm going to start by going to the desktop tools. Desktop tools is, again, cleverly disguised as tools in front of a computer desktop. It reduces your entire program to this little bubble off to the side. And I already had a web browser up. I'm going to do a Google search for skull. Images. Let's find a good one. That's a good one right there. Okay. I'm going to touch here. And then at 9 o'clock is the camera. And then toward the second one from the bottom there is area snapshot. These little dots are going to pop up. I'm going to move them over. Every now and then you'll turn on the camera, and your dots might just be a little cluster somewhere like that. Just start dragging some of them, touch and drag some of them out till you get the size you want. The cool thing about the camera tool is it always will come back to where you used it last. So if you're doing Google searches like this, it will always come back to this section of your screen. All right, so that's the skull face I'm going to use. I have some options over here: current page, new page, clipboard. I'm going to go current page. And then on my little bubble, 1 o'clock is return to flip charts. There's my skull. Doesn't it look just like me? No? I'm going to use my camera tool real fast and take a picture of myself. Click and drag that down onto the same page. Put it in front. So once I select my picture that I took of myself, there's some marquee handles that pop up across the top. This one that looks like a sun, it's harder to see. I'll pull it down some. There you go. This one looks like a sun is a transparency slider. So I can slide that down where I can see the skull, and then use these other tools to try and line things up a little bit. Get my mouth closed, get the eyes pretty close. There we go. Then I'll bring this back up. Same thing we did before, view browsers. And you can see I have two images. They will number themselves and order themselves in the order you brought them on the page. So the skull is going to be image 1, my face is image 2. The most important thing about Magic Ink is you need to have one picture in the top layer. If you have annotations on your page already, they will already be in the top layer. Annotations default to top layer. Everything else defaults to the middle layer. You can move stuff if you want to the bottom layer, but nothing defaults there on its own. I'll take this image of myself As I move it up, it's hard to see, and it's even hard to see on the computer, and it's always been hard to see. But you'll have a black line or a gray box or something moving to the layers. Make sure you see that box, and then it pops up to the top layer. It could be helpful if you're going to have students up at the screen to tap this locked button. It will automatically lock everything that's on the screen. It will not let anybody move them around.
How did you do the screenshot again from the web?
So if you're using desktop tools, it's the desktop of the stuff in front of it. Right here, when you get to that bubble, there's the camera off to about 9 o'clock. The second option from the bottom is area snapshot.
Okay.
It brought up these little 9 bubbles over here. And then I chose current page. If you're doing a bunch of them and you want to do a different one on each page, you don't have to go back in between. Just you do current page, and then everything after that you do new page. And it'll go to a new page every single time. So you can put a new picture on a web page every time. And then again, from the bubble, 1 o'clock is return to flip charts. So then again, in tools, there we go, tools. Magic Ink is right above the pen modifiers. And you see right now I have the arrow select tool selected. That's why pen modifiers is grayed out. I choose Magic Ink. And I can use the same things, these dots over here and slider and stuff. Magic Ink will let me look through to the top layer into the bottom layer or middle layer, whatever's below it.
Should the older version be able to do that too, or is that something good? Just like some kids are
I use this with my students in the 10-11 school year with fifth graders. And back then we were still using reading anthologies, and I had to do a vocabulary lesson every week. I don't have any of the flip charts left, but I put something like this on every page for vocabularies. So I found one of the vocabulary words I had to teach was the word settlement. So I found an internet web page picture of like Virginia Town, or whatever, Jamestown, something like that. And I had the students talk about, like, okay, what's going on in this picture? Well, it looks like they're building houses. Well, what else do you see in the picture? There's some ships in the back. So if there's ships and their houses, what do you think's happening in the picture? Some kid would say, well, it looks to me like they're building a new city when they just moved somewhere. Perfect. And have that student come up, they would choose Magic Ink, and they would do like this until they found the vocabulary I was teaching. It was hidden in a text box. Like I said, I've seen this done also where people put up a picture of a volcano and the cross-section of the volcano, picture of the globe, cross-section of the globe. There's all kinds of things you can do with that. I mean, I've seen you take the teacher workshop page or workbook page, put it on the back layer, put the student workbook page on the front layer, and then you can Magic Ink through to find the answers afterwards. Right? Let me see. Let me see if I have any of them. I don't know if I do or not, but I used to have some. Okay, so this is one like I was talking about. This is like a sample of what I used to do. This image of a classroom, you see there's actually 2 of those. One on the top layer, one on the middle layer, and then somewhere in the middle is a bunch of text boxes. Let's see if we can find someone. There we go. Over there's the word calendar. Students, desk, teacher. So that's how kind of I used to set it up. Same image, bottom layer, top layer, and in the middle layer is the text boxes.
And if you don't have the touch screen, can you do it with the eraser? To get rid of part of the top?
You would use the plastic pen that goes with the board you would have.
Okay, so that would indeed.
Mm-hmm. You can see here, one image top layer, bunch of text boxes in the middle layer, and they're all above the other image in the middle layer.
You liked playing with this, didn't you?
This was one of my favorite things. I use this all the time. And my wife now she's been a first grade teacher for, I'm really bad at math, 18-ish years she's been a first grade teacher. And she uses this almost daily still. Magic Ink.
So did you create two pictures? In essence, you took a picture, you took a picture of that.
Mm-hmm.
You put your text over that.
Mm-hmm.
You saved that.
Yeah.
And then you bring back you have the original as well.
Yeah. So I put one picture on here, and then I duplicated it, brought it to the top layer, and put the text boxes in.
Do you save it?
Yeah.
Before you do, or
I mean,
do you need to save it, or do you just?
yeah, you'll want to save file up here at the top, file, and your regular save and save as options are up there. You'll want to save it as you go, and when you're done, you'll want to save it too. It's not like Google stuff; it's not going to auto save.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll want to save these. Anything that's saved. Let me bring this size down a little bit so you can see this. Edit, profiles. Okay. Anything that is saved on your flip chart, using this white page with the kind of recycle button on it, will reset it to the last saved place. So if a kid comes up here and deletes everything, screws everything up, as long as they don't hit save, you can come up here and hit that button, and it will reset it back to its last save point.